Good morning, everyone. It's Joker, and today we are back with another slime video. And finally getting around to Jubilee. I've done a bit in here. We've got it to work, and we're looking pretty good for a really bad meta that I don't particularly enjoy. So I think I can try and get like one more good run in each of the boss fights just to, really squeeze out a few more points, but that's about it. But today we're going to be focusing on normal battle 1. So we can see that we are at 7299. We're rank 2 because I'm not maxed out at 7300. Not a big deal. Not really going to worry about 1 point because that would require a decent amount of RNG. And also requires that you kill one of the sharks. So we start with a 4 green and 2 blue hands. So we'll have to work our way around that. But before we go in, let's get the disclaimers out of the way. So disclaimer number 1, your results will vary because you don't have the same units or dupes as I do or gear. This video is supposed to give you an idea of what to use, and then you're just going to have to make it work with what you got. Disclaimer number 2 is that these are the characters that give protection gauge, and these are the characters that give skill point gain, especially on turn 1. So hopefully you can use that to your power. And then disclaimer number 3 is please do not forget to go into your town and optimize your magic buildings to get the most out of your wind nuker for this stage. But with that said, let's get started. Alright, so for the first team, we're going to be using the New Year's Blessing team kind of a little bit. Shion, obviously, because she's the best, burst, physical, protector, guaranteed crit, guaranteed synergy. We brought Space Velzard because she is a physical unit, and she has the blue orb change, so that works for both of us. Overlord SHIZU, fantastic unit. We got the 4-star Gobta, not even the free-to-play one, the 4-star one, because he has the orb change and he has the poison dodge, which we're going to need to get, that minus, or the 1 point down or no points down, depending on what team you build. Carnation Shinsha, good support unit, and then we're going to be nuking with Wind SHIZU, who is a physical wind character. Now, if you have access to the New Year's Blessing Milim, she will also work, but I'm assuming a lot of people don't, because she wasn't that great of a unit, and I told people not to summon for her, and hopefully they listened. Adventurer SHIZU has been on a lot more banners, and she might be a little bit more accessible to people, so that's why we're going to go with her first. But let's go ahead and find the clip that I have to start at, and jump in. Okay, so we're using the big 3 for our full support trait for protection gauge. Velzard again is here to convert on turn 1, give us that full hand of greens. And then as for the charm, I believe I'm using orange protection. I think we'll have to check when I actually use her. But we're gonna bring SHIZU and Shinsha in for the protection trait, so we can get a double stack, or at least as close to a double stack as possible. Sorry, because we're not sending blues. As much protection gauge as possible. And we're going to kind of segment out the damage and get them each low enough. Taking 1 damage here for each hit is going to be important for you to, try and max your score out. So here we go. We got a good hand. We've got points. And now we have to bring Gobta in. And plus we're going to stack up the attack with SHIZU. We use the orange alt swap just to get the extra gauge increase on the oranges, because no one else is going to do that. And now we're going to use the poison dodge to give all 3 of our units, no poison on turn 2. And then Shion comes in, gives us that. And then, oh, okay, she's got a wind attack charm on. Sorry. Okay, so that's the charm we're using, is a wind attack charm, which will only affect all 3 of these units up front because they're all wind, right? So it'll just help us do a bit more chip damage away because they're pretty tanky. It also gets us very close to a SHIZU ult, and there's, us dodging all 3 poisons, which is going to be very, very necessary, for lack of a better word. But here we have a bunch of oranges. We really only need enough points to full buff here and get the EX ult. So we can alt swap here. We got very, very lucky on these oranges, and we're going to send this. Now, if you don't get lucky and you don't get a full hand of oranges, then you're going to have to make do, or maybe hopefully get enough SHIZU orbs just to get her ult and another Shion gauge. But that's something that's going to have to happen in the moment. The turn limit for this fight is turn 5, right? You don't have to nuke on turn 4 or turn 3. You can go to turn 5, but you will take a bit extra damage. So I think here, if I were able to, I would nuke on turn 3 and have enough points and wipe everybody out and get overkill, and that would save me that 1 point that I'm missing, but I can't be bothered for 1 point. So here we're going to use the big time SHIZU buff, and then we're going to use the Carnation Shinsha buff, and I mean that's all we need to do. So we'll use Shion now to give us the guaranteed crit, guaranteed synergy, and the oranges, and we'll whittle down their HP a little bit more just to get that shark on the right a little bit lower, and then we'll go ahead and nuke. Now they also on turn 3 put a crit debuff on, which could hold you back a bit, right? Because you might not crit. It's like a 30% crit down or something. So you have a 70% chance to crit if you have it. There we go, and then SHIZU's ult does 461. We managed to crit everything, and that will take us to that magical number of 1.4 million damage for the overkill. 1.5 actually here. So there we go. 1.5 million. We got minus 1 point on the damage received. Not a big deal though. Let's move on to the next team. Alright, the next team we're going to use is the Fount of Wisdom team with SHIZU, with the Gobta still for that poison dodge. He's going to be pretty much essential for this stage. And we're going to nuke with Fount of Wisdom Hinata, one of the oldest EX characters in the game, alongside Fount of Wisdom Rimuru, who is the oldest EX character in the game, summonable at least. Well, I mean, it came out at the same time as a few others, but still, you get what I mean. Diablo is also giving us a damage increase against water enemies, so that means Hinata will hit a little harder. Guy is giving her guaranteed crits and more ult damage than what she gives herself. Whether or not we use that is going to be a different story. SHIZU, again, is giving her weakness, strike, and ult resistance down. That's really good. Physical Rimuru is giving the physical buff, and then Hinata has her own ult buff and attack buff. So let's go ahead and find the clip. Alright, so here we don't have anyone to convert turn 1, right? We have a bunch of blue orb changers and no green orb changers, so we're just going to have to deal with it and live with it. Also, this team, I'm going to go to turn 6 here, because we don't have enough points to full-on nuke, and I want to get at least that damage cap. So we're going to send the 4 greens, and we're going to pray that we can get a good hand next turn, which we do, because that's a perfect Guy orb change right there. And we need to get as many stacks as possible, while still keeping in mind everything. So we still need to poison dodge on this turn, so we can bring Guy in and Gobta in and use that. We've also got Diablo with an ult rush charm on, to just help us give Hinata as much ult gauge as possible. So Gobta comes in, Guy comes in. Guy also has turn 3 protection trait, so this works out perfectly. There's the poison dodge, there's the orb change, and we will continue sending. For this fight, since we're only nuking with one character who's a single target, we can kill 2 of the sharks. And that will cut down the damage that we take overall, because there's going to be not as many things attacking us, which does work out pretty fine. So 1 damage, poison dodge, 1 damage, poison dodge, 1 damage. If they pierce you, very unfortunate because they don't do 1 damage, but that's going to be RNG. Alright, we got a fairly good hand here. Free-to-play Gobta also has a green orb change, so that combined with Guy means that this hand is fine. Or we could use Hinata's orb change. I mean, whatever works. We could have used Hinata's orb change and Gobta's orb change instead of doing it a roundabout way like that. Oh well, misplay, but I mean, it got what we needed it to do. So let's bring everybody else in, and this is why we put the ult charm on, because Hinata has 0 orbs. So congrats. That's also kind of why we pushed to turn 6. If you get very lucky, you can go to turn 5 and still nuke with Hinata with full damage, if you get a lot of orbs for her. And now we've got the crit nerf on, but we're not going to have enough points to use 4 80-point buffs unless we really play around with like holding a buff. So I'm not really worried about this crit debuff at all, because we're probably not going to crit. And now, 2 stacks of Diablo is permanently stacking ult resistance down on the enemy, and then we'll orb change and orb change. Full hand of blues. We have 5 Hinata orbs, which actually helps us quite a bit. And then that's her EX ult, and that's max points, but that's only 220, and we need 240 to actually do 3 buffs and get to damage cap. So this is why we push to turn 6, because turn 5 we need to keep building up and we need to stack again with Diablo to get to that 250 mark. So I mean, if your Hinata is very strong and you have some other buffs that you can bring, then she might be able to hit that on turn 5, or without having to push. yeah, it's really up to you. I think I pause here for a little bit while I think about what to do. Okay, so, sorry. We orb changed, and then we're going to orb change again. So we use the Hinata orb change, we're going to use the Guy orb change there. And we're going to build back up to full points. Hinata comes out, because I want that full hand of blues to get as much gauge as possible for Diablo, so we can get his stacks in, and then we'll just bring Hinata back. And now we have one shark down, and now we can nuke. So we're not going to worry about Guy, since Hinata does have her own personal alt buff. It's not very big, but it is a personal alt buff. So we're going to use these 3 buffs right here. The SHIZU buff, Hinata buff, and Rimuru buff. And that will get us to that magical number. I don't know if I actually send any orbs on this guy. He has 46k HP, so... okay, we send 1, and that was the only one we could send. And we do 1.2 million damage right there. So there might be a way where we could have used... because, okay, we don't actually hit damage cap, we're just a little bit shy. Maybe what I could have done is I could have used the Hinata attack buff early and sent her away, and then we would have had enough points coming back to then use the Guy crit buff and the extra alt damage, because even if we didn't crit, it would be a higher alt buff. So, I mean, that's one way to do it. But there is the second alt team. Let's move on. Alright, the second team that we're going to use is Konosuba Rimuru, and then we're going to be nuking with the new Tempest Elite Shuna, because she is AoE, and she is Wind, and she gives her own buff. And she also has that pretty good orb change as long as we have Tempest Elite characters, of which we have 3, because we've got free-to-play Warrior's Mind Shion, who stacks crit damage on physical characters. Shuna is physical. Guy is going to give her that guaranteed crit. So we're going to work it a little bit. We are using the front 3 units for skill points, so we're going to start with 42. And that will ensure that turn 1, we can just straight up use Shuna's orb change and not have to worry about, bringing a green converter or something like that, because they're all going to be blue, as long as we have Gobta, Shion, and Shuna up front. So let's go ahead and find that run. Okay. So, again, as long as we have everybody up front be Tempest Elite, this 4 greens and 2 blues does not matter, because it's going to be 6 blues. We just have to work our way around it. So, we're not bringing the other Gobta, right? So we don't have the poison dodge ability, so we're just going to forego that, and we're just going to take it and eat it. Because maybe you don't have a Gobta built up, because why the fuck would you ever actually need to use Gobta, except for in random Jubilee fights? Fair. So, Tempered Edge Gobta, or the new Gobta, is good. Tempest Elite Gobta is a good character. And he has an orb change. And this Warrior's Mind Shion, you might not have her, but she, she does stack crit damage on physical characters. And if we're gonna crit and we're gonna nuke with a wind character or a physical character, it'll work. And now we have 61 points, so we have enough points again to completely convert there, which is good. And then we'll use our first stack, or second stack of Rimuru. No, first stack of Rimuru. And then we'll bring Guy in, because he's got turn 3 protection gauge. And then we'll just send 6 more greens. So, the one thing I do want to enforce is that since we are actually going to crit with Shuna, like we're looking for it, we don't need her up front on turn 3, because we want her to avoid that crit nerf. And Guy is being a G and avoiding all those poisons, so thank you. That, just raises our score just a little bit. We've got a perfect orb change for Guy right here, so that's awesome. We can get another stack of Rimuru. We're going to bring Shion in now and use her first stack of her crit damage. It's only 5%, right? It could be higher. And since we already have Fount of Wisdom Rimuru, you don't have to bring Shion, but you do have to bring another Tempest Elite character to really ensure that you can change that turn 1. I mean, there are ways to get around it, and you could have 2 up there, as long as one of them isn't, the third slot isn't it. But it just makes life a little easier if you do have the third one. And she's going to bring the most value to this team, being a converter and stacking crit damage. So, we don't swap Shuna out. Well, that's unfortunate. Okay, well, in an ideal world, you won't misplay like me, and you will take her out, so she doesn't get that crit nerf. But there's another stack of Rimuru. We're going to orb change with Guy. And since we have Tempest Elite Gobta, we can alt swap here. Right? So there's our second stack of crit damage, there's the orb change with Guy, and then we'll bring Gopta in, and we will alt swap away. I mean, that he has insane value for a free-to-play unit being able to do that. So it's very, very nice to see. And now we have the Shuna ult, and we have 260 points. So we should be ready to nuke here, because we have enough to use, the Pierce buff. We have enough to use the ult and the crit. We've been stacking with the crit damage with the Shion, and we've got the physical Rimuru buff. So we should have, enough points to really guarantee this. But we have another, a minute 40 in this clip, so something makes me feel like we're not going to do that, because I think we're going to wait for that crit nerf to go away more than anything. So let's see how we decide to play this out. And it looks like we are not nuking. So if you had not been crit nerfed with Shuna on turn 3, I would think that you'd probably want to just nuke here. The right shark hasn't been lowered a lot, so it's probably also why I wanted to push another turn, wait for the crit nerf to go away, lower his health down a little bit. We brought Shion and Gopta in, so we just could change that entire hand right there and alt swap it away. And now the crit nerf is going to leave. We get a cheeky counter there, cool, and then we're going to nuke. So, I mean, it's a bit of a long clip, but it does work, and we get one more stack of Rimuru just to ensure that we can really, really hit that cap. And then we'll do, let's see, another stack of the crit damage. So that's, I think, 15% now. 15% extra crit damage. It's not insignificant, right? Physical Rimuru comes in. Guy comes in. And then we'll use the Pierce buff, physical buff, and alt buff, and crit buff. And then we'll go ahead and just nuke. And I think, do I send one or? No, okay, we don't. 480 and 486. That's good. That will definitely get us to damage cap, along with everything else that we've done so far. Yep, 1.5. We did take a bit more damage there, obviously, but it's still a pretty decent score. So that's the third team. Let's go on to the last sad team. All right, the last sad team is going to be a Toa team, and we're going to nuke with Wind Milim, because she's wind and she's magic and she's AoE. This Milim is also skill fused, so she does give wind characters extra crit damage, which helps because we're going to bring the Masked Hero to get that guaranteed crit and, stack it on top of the crit resistance down that the hero does. We've got Yuki for the AoE debuff and the alt resistance down, and then we brought Aaron and Isis for orb changing, and then Toa's got our oranges for our alts. And we don't have an EX character here, so we don't really need that much. So let's find out where we are. Okay, so since we did bring Isis, we do have someone to convert turn 1. I don't think... Yeah, I did not bring skill point units to use both of Isis buffs. Not a big deal. We still have the big 3 active. We've got a full hand of greens. We're going to bring Milim in. She's our only type advantage unit, so we're not going to do that much damage, all things considered, against these sharks, because they are pretty tanky. So this is just the sad substitute team, if this is all you can get. And, if your Milim isn't skill fused, then your score is going to be even worse. But at least you have an AoE wind nuker, right? And you have someone that can get her an alt in Toa. And so that's a pretty good hand right there. Essentially, I mean, we don't even have to wait to turn 4 or 5. We're just going to nuke because it's going to be a score, and you're just going to move on with your day. So we're going to rewind here just to get a little bit extra damage done to them, and then we'll nuke, and we just got to make sure we have enough points. So we'll use the guard penetration, which is not even leveled up with Milim, but the sharks do have guard, and if we want to do a little bit extra damage, we'll use the guard penetration power. So we'll spread the damage out here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We almost get another Toa, but good thing we are in the rewind stage, so that'll ensure that we can actually get Toa next turn, get a lot of points, lower the other shark down, just a tad bit here, and now we have the Milim ult, so nothing to worry about, and we got 4 Milim orbs. Perfect. So we'll just go ahead and send those on the right shark. Nothing else we can do here, because none of the buffs last for 2 turns. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and I think I've already checked. Do we check it, though? What are we doing? What am I doing here? I don't even know. There we go. Just send the 4. Alright, yeah, there you go. I mean, that's a decent amount of HP taken off. And now we're just going to go ahead and nuke, right? We have 140 points available. We need 135 to use, right? Because we got the 55 point Milim buff, the hero buff, and then Yuki's AoE debuff, the alt resistance down, right? So there's the 55, there's the crit resistance. Toa gives us another 40, and then we'll use the other two buffs. So alt and then alt resistance down, and now this is the crit damage on top of that, which is now activated. And then we can spread the damage out a bit because we've got a full hand of oranges, so let's take advantage of it. 1, 2, and then 3, 4, 5, 6. Alright, so 1, 2, 3, 4. This is the 200% orb, and it's going to do a good amount of damage. Never mind, I lied. It's not. And Milim does, yeah, 54,000. Alright, whatever. It is what it is. So, sad score, 38k. Still get you an S rank, though. That's all that's really important. But there we go. 4 fights for Normal Battle 1. Let me know if this video helped you guys out. That's it from me. Take it easy, and I'll see you all later.